Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we'll be discussing project and portfolio management, strategic planning with Project Online and OnePlan. My name is Doug Welsby from Wicresoft, a Microsoft partner firm. We'll be telling you more about Wicresoft and our offerings in a moment. Before we get started, we have a few quick logistics items to cover with you. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit questions. I'm presenting today by myself, doing both the presentation and the demo, so I won't be able to address those questions during the webinar. However, we will respond via email to any questions that you submit via that question feature. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I'll be emailing a link to the presentation once it's been posted to our YouTube channel. And with that, let's get started with portfolio and project strategic planning with Project Online and OnePlan. Today we'll be covering several aspects of PPM, including capturing of project proposals and ideation, evaluating your resource capacity to deliver on these newly submitted proposals, financial planning, including CapEx and OpEx related to those proposals, project prioritization and selection, and I'll walk you through a demonstration of all of these aspects of the lifecycle of PPM, followed by a summary and a call to action, some next steps for you to take after the webinar today. So just for a moment, I'll tell you a bit about Wicresoft. We're a global partner of Microsoft, started as a joint venture with Microsoft in 2002. We have approximately 6,500 global employees, and our North American productivity solution practice has offices throughout the US and Canada. We offer advisory services for business transformations, solutions built on the Microsoft Office platform, and operation services for consulting, staffing, training, and support. As you'll see, we've grown quite significantly over the years through a variety of acquisitions of outstanding and gold partners of Microsoft in the PPM and the Office 365 productivity space. So Microsoft PPM helps you deliver on business strategies through high impact outcomes. You can think of a simplified PPM lifecycle as comprised of three phases: ideate, plan, and execute. Ideation is the initiation phase in which ideas are collected and projects are proposed. Planning is the phase where we include preliminary planning of the projects at a high level, including resource and budget estimates, aiding us in prioritization. And then finally, of course, execution is the delivery phase through collaboration of the involved stakeholders, measurements of deliverables, business reporting against progress that we're making, delivering on the outcomes that we have committed to during the initial ideation and planning phases. This is built on Microsoft's cloud, and the Microsoft PPM solution weaves in cloud services that power the PPM solution through collaboration capabilities, advanced analytics that drive insights, and the ability to customize and extend the solution to meet unique needs of your organization. Microsoft PPM is built on Microsoft's cloud infrastructure. And this means that you get enterprise-grade security and compliance, highly secure and geographically diverse data centers, and a 99% uptime guarantee with the Microsoft Cloud Platform. So what's project intake? Let's start by discussing that, which is the earliest stage of a project lifecycle. This is where your organization's ideas, proposals, suggestions, other inputs are documented for consideration. These can originate from a variety of sources. It might be your customers. It might be coming internally from staff, or perhaps you have an organization with a business relationship manager who documents his internal client needs back to a central organization responsible for delivery on these client demands, on these new projects, on work that is being driven internally. As an example, Our Wicresoft OnePlan development team takes in idea submissions for OnePlan features from customers, from our account executives and consultants who are working with these customers, and from a variety of other sources. We then capture information about this demand, including justification, resources, and costs associated with building a feature. We assess the benefits for both our customers and ourselves in terms of market position advancement, and are able to decide if we proceed with a proposal, one of these newly submitted ideas for features within OnePlan. So how does your organization handle intake? Do you have a tool for capturing this important flow of information? And does this tool provide the functionality required to be effective? These tools need to be flexible and easy to adopt and use. And that's why many organizations use Excel or a simple database. But does Excel support workflows, security, and integration with your project delivery tool set? This is a critical requirement for an intake tool. File-based or email-based solutions are not easily shared. They're standalone or static and don't provide sufficient data analytics for proper intake management. And we found that the largest shortcoming in these fragmented tools is that we have a disconnect between the tools and the business processes that your organization is attempting to follow. Let's consider financials. As you capture new ideas, are you properly tracking their anticipated costs against the budget you have established for a fiscal period? Are you capturing enough granular details such as OpEx, CapEx, or the type of cost? Is it a free-for-all with budget items inappropriately aligned with your corporate general ledger structure? In the demo today, we'll show you how your ideation can map properly into a corporate process. Without this, it slows down approvals. You have version control issues, and there's a lack of clarity into the intake process through these disconnected tools. So your goal should be to achieve a consistent and integrated method for managing your life cycle from intake through prioritization, through delivery and execution, and finally through benefits realization. The tool needs to be flexible to adapt to changing requirements and yet have the ability to enforce standards and process throughout your business units. Capturing all data elements in one place or fully integrated capabilities is necessary to enable this process. But getting to this end state with all data in one database won't be without its challenges. Most larger enterprises are using tools such as SAP or Oracle for financial and budget management. So it's important to note that we have connectivity solutions to enable integration that won't require a complete rework of these embedded line of business systems before you implement an end-to-end PPM process within your organization. Our Wicresoft solution family is built around the Microsoft Project Online offering, thinking about this process through demand management, budgeting and costing, portfolio and strategic alignment through to project management, delivery, reporting and analytics, and integrations back to demand management again, this whole life cycle of delivery. We have a number of value-add solutions that integrate into this life cycle. Our One PPM solution is a pre-configured solution for Project Online, embedding best practices in a kickstart fashion, making it easy to get up and running very quickly and seeing value from that solution. Our OnePlan solution adds value to Project Online, easing the capability to do top-down budgeting with regards to resources and other financial aspects of a project. One Analytics adds reporting capabilities to the tool set, augmenting the out-of-the-box Project Online reporting with fully integrated analytics and reporting across your entire platform of PPM solution applications. And finally, OneConnect is there to help with integrations should you be using an existing line of business solution such as SAP or Oracle Financials or if you're perhaps doing agile project delivery within Azure DevOps or Jira. So what do ideas, requests, and business cases look like? We'll dig into this in the demo, but essentially what we offer with our OnePPM and our OnePlan solution is a single location for submission of all types of requests. Now, this ideation process can be very simplified to get you started, but then we can expand on that through OnePlan to enhance the data capture capabilities of the tool set. We'll show you during the demonstration today that the OnePPM project ideation and intake interface is very simple to use, easy to adopt, very Excel-like if you wish to maintain that sort of environment for your users. But we can integrate workflow capabilities and transition easily from an entry in an ideation list into a full-blown project. As we submit these new ideas and start to consider them for delivery within the organization, we need to do resource planning. I'll show you today how you can do comprehensive resource planning out of the box with Project Online, but also how OnePlan easily facilitates this and simplifies the process and yet still allows detailed lifecycle resource planning with the ability to very quickly visualize where you have resource overload through interfaces such as you're seeing on screen. Around financial planning, once again, Project Online is capable of delivering comprehensive financial planning inputs and tracking across a project lifecycle, whereas our OnePlan interface, fully integrated with Project Online, simplifies that. Again, an Excel-like interface, visible as you see on screen, integrated directly within Project Online, allowing you to track not only the financial costs regarding labor, but other OpEx, CapEx, and general ledger type entries to fully understand the anticipated budget or cost for a proposed project. And while we can do prioritization within Project Online, many of our customers are looking for an approach which puts them more in the driver's seat than the Project Online portfolio analyzer capability delivers. With Project Online, we can do what if scenarios, great strategic analysis against our business drivers and the prioritization inputs that we've added to our projects. And with OnePlan, while we can consume that information, we also have greater flexibility and fully integrated information regarding resource load, financial load, manual prioritization based on other metrics that you may add, and greater visibility into the all-up impact of either adding or removing some proposed projects from this portfolio. And then finally, of course, the Project Online environment and our OnePlan integrated tool set offer all-up data visualization and analytics through the Microsoft Power BI reporting platform. I'll give you a couple of examples of that today, including some reports around the intake of projects and how that's visualized within Power BI within our OnePlan and OnePPM environments. So with that, we'll get away from slides and let's get into a demonstration. I'll take you through the tool set. And what I'd like to do is I'll start out with ideation and explaining how the tool set can be used for submission of new project ideas, and then mapping out which of those ideas we wish to gather additional information about, transitioning them into a better or more comprehensive intake process, and what that looks like using not only Project Online, but how we can simplify that with the OnePlan tool. I'll walk you through a couple of parallel tracks around ideation and around portfolio analysis. So I'll flip to my tool. We're now looking at the Project Online environment. Within this environment, you are on the Office 365 platform. If I hit the app launcher in the upper left, you'll see that I'm connected to Office 365. I have applications available to me, including, of course, Outlook with Exchange Online. I can use OneDrive, the other Office apps, and of course, Project is here as well, enabled in this environment for project and portfolio management. This first screen we see is the project homepage, where an individual such as this resource who's logged in, Daniel Williams, has favorited a couple of his projects. He's looking at some roadmaps for cost cutting and for new initiatives that they're taking on. And he's easily able to get into the details of any of these projects by clicking on that tile to open up the details of this social networking or this VoIP phones project. If I want to examine all of the functionality within the Project Online environment, this main interface for PWA, the project web app, allows me along the left-hand menu, and as you see here, as I highlight it in red, all of the different capabilities of the tool set, with of course a security model in place based on the role that an individual is playing within the organization, limiting which areas of the application they can access and limiting which details of the projects or the resource they have visibility into. Now we have several other webinars and YouTube videos outlining the details of Project Online. So I'll give a quick summary of the Project Center and the Resource Center to show you what that looks like before we get into the focus of today's webinar, which is portfolio analytics with Project Online and OnePlan. So this high-level view of our projects within the Project Center shows us our projects grouped by the state, requested, approved, in progress, together with some KPI indicators showing us the overall health of the project, some schedule health, etc. Now this is very configurable. The states are defined as we do a configuration of the tool for you. And of course, there's other views available in here as well, such as projects by portfolio or projects by product or program. So if I switch to one of those other views, you'll see the grouping is now showing us different programs for improvements and enhancements, upgrades and migrations, and the associated projects with them. As I mentioned earlier, there are other webinars on our YouTube channel available describing the full functionality of the Project Center and this Resource Center. I just wanted to highlight these two today to illustrate what the core capabilities of Project Online are. Just like the Project Center, the Resource Center shows us a list of not projects, but resources. And it can very quickly navigate through this Resource Center to do some capacity planning and see a highlight view of my resources and a capacity and engagements heat map, or a view of resource utilization across the selected projects and the selected resources on my team. So what about ideation? Let's think back to that submission funnel of new ideas and new projects and proposals into the tool. So within our one PPM environment, you'll see here we have a list of project requests. These are newly submitted ideas that are coming in. And where are these coming from? They might be your customers proposing something that you want to, as I described earlier, add to one of your applications, such as an enhancement to our Wicresoft OnePlan application suite. They might be a new project request that's come in from an individual within your organization. It might not be a project, it just might be an addition to an existing application or a modification or a change that they've submitted requesting some sort of work. It might be your business relationship managers who are speaking with their contacts within the business and documenting project requests here. Effectively, we can use this as an initial intake funnel, capture a variety of information about these projects, easily configure these views to adjust the look and feel and the information being displayed. And we can do some high-level prioritization just with some basic metrics, such as what are the anticipated benefits and costs, is it risky or not, and derive a high-level prioritization score. And it's very Excel-like if we want it as well. I just switch to the datasheet view, and I might determine that this particular project isn't a medium level risk, but maybe it's actually only low, and that will change the prioritization score for that particular project as it recalculates the values that we're determining based on those metrics that we've input. So we have this list of project requests that are coming in. And once something has been approved within this list to move forward, we can easily select it, transition it into a project, and then start to gather additional information to help us through a prioritization process that's much more comprehensive than this entry-level area that we're seeing within the application right here. Now, with that in mind, many organizations see value right here with ideation and requests in this sort of interface, in the ability to integrate directly within OnePlan. You may stop here, but for the most part, organizations need to carry on and say, okay, this is this new submission that's come in. We've got some high-level details, but we need to understand what it's going to take in terms of resources, our most valuable asset, and the financial cost and impact of delivering this project. One last item before we switch out of this intake view and start to think about capturing additional information for those projects is, of course, we have views and reporting available for those submitted items that are in that intake list. So if I switch to a Power BI view called Project Requests, you'll see a visualization of that exact same information that was in that ideation interface, where here we see the titles, the project type, the priority, etc., and a very easy to use interface through which an executive could say, well, I'm focused this year, what's important to me are my security projects, my cloud computing projects, and I'm really interested in the ones that have been deemed critical. So I can filter this list down by easily clicking through and selecting different views to show me only the critical projects that are either security or cloud computing. All right, so once we've submitted a project idea in, transitioned it into that project center via that intake and ideas and requests list, within that project center, that project that is a newly submitted request, we can now start to gather additional information about that project and build out the business case for whether or not we're going to deliver that project. So I'll show some highlights of how to do this with Project Online, and then we'll transition into using OnePlan for gathering a similar level of detail, but in a much more, I'm going to say, flexible and easy to use interface, again, integrated directly within Project Online so that you can carry on with that O365 platform with using the project scheduling engine as you're delivering and executing those projects, but easing that upfront intake and portfolio prioritization process. So we're looking at this social networking integration project. It's currently in the initiating phase, and we're waiting for budget approval for this project. So we're gathering information about this particular project, trying to determine what the budget is and what the resource costs will be in order to be able to properly deliver on this project and decide whether or not it's a priority for the organization. So how do you gather your budget information for this project? Well, within Project Online, if I click on this summary page for the project, you'll see that we're able to gather a variety of information about the project, including work information, general comments such as who the owner is, what the strategic theme is, etc. Some status information, and it's all green because it's not yet approved and we're not yet delivering on this project, but also some financial information in these custom fields that have been set up in here to capture budget, actual costs, CapEx, OpEx, etc. So we can capture cost informations within Project Online, but keep in mind that it's not as detailed as we'll see within OnePlan. And as we transition into the OnePlan demo, you'll see that we have a much more intuitive interface for gathering these details and for capturing and building out the estimated costs and budget for these projects. Secondly, as we start to think about the resource load for these projects, we can build out a schedule. So building out a schedule is, of course, native functionality to Project Online. We can go through a view such as this and examine the all-up project scope. We can examine within each one of these phases of the project the different tasks that we anticipate we're going to have to deliver on. We can assign resources to these tasks and start to build out a resource workload map. And we can also start to establish resource-related costs for the project. Now, it's early in the life cycle. We don't necessarily know that we're going to get approval for this social networking integration project. And if any of you out there have ever built out a project plan and started to define the scope and the tasks and the activities, you'll know that this is a significant amount of work to develop this level of detail. With our OnePlan solution, as you'll see momentarily, we don't need to define this level of granularity. It's not about the tasks and who's going to do them and when they're going to do them. It's just about a high-level resource estimate for this project, allowing us to easily establish a resource workload roadmap and associated financial costs for that project to give us that all-up view of information that we need to properly do the assessment. And that assessment is us determining whether or not this project makes sense, whether or not it's aligned to our strategy, and whether or not we have enough resources and enough budget to deliver on that project. And then finally, once we've submitted in these ideas, captured some high-level costs, built out a schedule to capture resources, we can then go through and do some portfolio analytics. Right out of the box with Project Online, I could save an analysis with different budgets across these different fiscal periods. I can open up one of those analyses where we've submitted a number of projects for consideration. And if I back up and look at the priorities list, you'll see that based on the details that we fed into the tool, in some of those summary pages, we see here that we have this health assessment reporting tool, which is the highest priority. Bottom of the list, this is Migrate SharePoint Sites project, and we're able to very quickly stack rank our projects and determine which ones are the most important and which ones are at the bottom of that list. Here's the portfolio analysis tool in Project Online, allowing us to view the priority, some of the cost and benefit information in this grid, and we can navigate around in here to, for example, limit our budget and or force some of these projects in or out of that portfolio. I could force some in, force some out for various reasons, effectively manually selecting or deselecting them. But we are limited within this interface as to what we can do. We can't just simply reorder these. We can't very quickly adjust the priorities. Adding additional columns to these views to sort or group on other details of information requires the input and a bit of effort from the administrative staff to make those changes for you. So the level of flexibility you have in here, especially around manual reprioritization, is extremely limited. And as you'll see within our OnePlan portfolio prioritization interface, we're not just limited to Project Online projects as well. We get an opportunity to roll up and do portfolio analysis from across a variety of different tools, including Project Online projects, and maybe agile activities that are happening in another tool, such as Jira or Azure DevOps. And then finally, while there may be some dependencies set up between these projects, there's no visualization of it in this sort of view. And I'll show you momentarily how we can do that within OnePlan to facilitate that effort for visualization of dependencies between these projects and remapping of your portfolio as things change, as things get reprioritized, and as those dependencies move around. So let's take a peek at OnePlan. So you'll notice here, I'm still within Project Online. I'm still looking at that social networking integration project. Earlier, we looked at that summary page showing us some of those custom fields for capturing budget. We also looked at the schedule page where we were building out the schedule for our project. But what if we decide to not do that? What if we decide that the summary and the schedule information is perhaps something that's a capability and capacity of Project Online, but we want to do that within a new modern interface known as OnePlan. So here's my social networking integration project. Much like I was able to capture summary information about that project when it's within Project Online, I can do the same thing here. I can edit the plan info and very quickly look at the name, its current state, who the customer might be for this particular proposed project, an estimated budget for it, et cetera, et cetera. So other information can be gathered, and we can very easily configure these attributes as you deploy this tool to add additional bits of information that you may wish to capture in order to help you with the prioritization exercise that we're undertaking. Here we're looking at, again, the social networking integration OnePlan plan, and we're looking at the resource plan and estimate for this particular project. So we've set the dates to calendar year for 2019, and we've started to sketch out an estimate for the resources for this particular project to deliver that. So we've gone through and said, well, we need a project manager 50% of the time throughout the entire year, well, January to October. We need a tester. We need a developer, et cetera, et cetera. Keep in mind, we could have human resources added to this plan instead of generic resources. So instead of a business analyst, we might have Adam, who might be on our team. And changing these requirements is as easy as entering numbers in those cells. So if I need a DBA there at 50% of his time or 100% of his time here, I can add those very easily. Now, the color coding that you're seeing gives a project manager or a resource manager instant feedback on those resource requirements for this project and whether or not we can meet those requirements based on other allocations across other projects. So you'll see here that I have a capacity of 100%, but because of other allocations of 60% across another project, I have an overage. So it's colored in a gold shade versus red versus light or darker green, all with different meanings, allowing us to very quickly, again, visualize that resource load for this project. Now, we've had other webinars talking about OnePlan, but just quickly, as a summary, we can schedule in hours, percent, FTE. We have different views. Instead of budget, we might call this proposed or actuals if we want to capture actuals as well. We can change the date range. We can filter this view based on attributes such as the department that those resources are associated with or the type of resource. We can have this as a private view. For example, this business analyst, I'm thinking about using the business analyst, but I haven't yet shared that with the resource manager, and other capabilities within the tool to make changes. Finally, what I can do is I could say, well, I need a business analyst. And if I'm interested in finding a business analyst for this project, I might go out and look at the resources that are on my team. So this is a limited search to find, for example, that Adam has availability at the same time as I need a business analyst. And I can very quickly just substitute Adam in for that business analyst by saying replace resource. Now, I specifically said on my team because we also have a negotiations feature where you can work with a resource manager to make a determination of whether or not you can use those resources, those human resources on your team. Perhaps you plan by generics and then hand it over to someone who's responsible for finding you an appropriate resource. I'll segue very quickly into what that view looks like. And if I'm a resource manager in the organization, I might pick my project manager and see that I need a project manager for this VoIP phones and for that social networking integration project. You'll see those 50% values January through October that I was focused on a moment ago. And I can go through here and find an appropriate project manager to replace that generic resource, finding those resources here by role, go through, find a project manager and replace that with Daniel Williams on that project. Back to my social networking integration project. We've estimated our resources, just like we could do within Project Online by building out a comprehensive schedule. But again, note, it's very easy to do this by simply stating a time frame for the project, the resource types that we need, and then the quantity of that resource required in that specific period. we have not required the project manager to state what they'll be doing. And eliminating that level of detail makes this a much more, I'm going to say, usable approach for delivering on resource planning within this interface, especially when we're early in the life cycle for this project and don't know for sure that this project's going to get approved. All right, next up after resource planning is financials. So I've switched to my financial view of this plan. The first thing you'll note is that there are some labor costs built into this plan, and they got there because I simply imported my resource estimate into this financial view. So I clicked on this import costs button. It brings over my resource requirements for this project and maps them into this labor plan, complete with a rolled up cost view showing me I need $571,000 in resources to be able to deliver on this project. We've also built out into this estimate for the financials for this project different cost categories: travel and expenses, contracts, software, etc., with expense types and descriptions. Again, these columns, as with resources, the categorization of the costs, the types, the description, etc., all of that is a configuration that you go through as you deploy OnePlan, standardizing on these attributes and the information that you're gathering throughout the process. So you wouldn't have multiple Excel sheet submissions coming in from various people within the organization who've made minor changes, creating for you a bit of a roll-up problem to consolidate all those plans when you have different views of that Excel spreadsheet from different submitters. It just makes for a make work exercise. Within a tool such as this, we're able to very easily go in, make modifications to this budget by adding, for example, a new value in here, but the resource who's submitting this cost plan or this financial estimate is limited to the cost categories, expense types, and description fields, or perhaps some others that you add as we do a configuration within the tool. So we're thinking about resource planning, we think about finance planning, and at this point in time, we have built out a fairly good foundation for what we think this project's going to look like. Resources, finances, some high-level attributes and information that we've gathered with regards to the plan info, and from here we have enough information to proceed with a portfolio analysis. So just like we did within the Project Online tool, again, we're still within Project Online, still working within the confines of that tool, but I'll show you now how we can do some portfolio analytics across all of these OnePlan plans, including the resource information, the financial information, and other details about those projects to help us with prioritization. So I'll navigate through to the OnePlan Portfolio Analyzer. Again, note that we're within Project Online. We're still viewing details of projects that are within the Project Online environment, such as this connected quality control. But you'll notice there are some other icons showing here, not just project, but Azure DevOps. We're able to consider in this portfolio analytics work items that are being submitted from other tools. This might be a full Azure DevOps submission for a project, or it might just be a feature that's been requested. And we're taking this into consideration within this portfolio analyzer view. We also see an icon here for Planner. And of course, we could include Jira or other work management type tools, be them Agile, be them other waterfall tools, etc. So within this project summary view, we have, in addition to the high-level details that we're showing in that view, a Gantt chart view that I'll come back to later on. We're able to visualize the projects that we've submitted, high-level milestones that are important to those particular projects, progress and dependencies amongst those projects. Now, the fields we're viewing help us with this prioritization. I see their names, I see the status, but more importantly, I see budget, benefits, and a prioritization score shown here so that we can understand that this project's a very high priority as determined by other entries that we've added associated with that project plan, or the weighted shortest job first, WSJF, a safe methodology for determining the priority of work within a hybrid environment such as this, where we're mixing in waterfall and agile type projects. Now, I want to do some prioritization within this tool. So how do I do that? Well, in addition to being able to sort descending or ascending of the priorities of these projects to determine this is virtually the highest priority project based on that prioritization score, I can change to a prioritization mode. You'll see the numbering on the left. And what I can do then is I can very quickly take a project such as this world-class customer support, which is seen to have a very high prioritization score and a high WSJF. I can drag it and manually drop it somewhere else within that prioritization area to renumber that project and essentially view that it has changed its priority within the tool. And as I mentioned earlier, I can also see dependencies within this image here showing us the dependencies of one project to another, so that as I group or filter this view for projects which have dependencies, makes things a lot more understandable for someone who's trying to consume this information and understand what's happening within a portfolio or a selection of projects. Now, what about resource prioritization? We have all of these projects that we've submitted, and let's ask ourselves, do we have enough resources to deliver on all of these projects? Well, I'll switch to a view here that we've built out called resource prioritization. And when I load this view, you'll see in the top half of the grid, I'm showing that same list of projects from highest to lowest priority as manually grouped or as set up by someone who's gone through and made a determination of those projects and their value. And in the lower part of the screen, what I'm seeing here is that we have some impact across those different project resources, including Daniel, Adam, business analyst, generic resources, etc. Let's take a look at Grace for a second. And we see that she's overloaded in the months of June, July, and August. And part of that impact is from the cloud computing, management requires, and tiny homes projects. Well, if I look in the top part of the grid and I see this tiny homes project that's been manually added as a category 5 or 5 level importance project, I might say to myself, well, I don't know who did that, but the weighted shortest job first and the prioritization score are very low. This project hasn't even been started yet. What if I deselect that project? We'll see the immediate impact on Grace. She's been removed from that project and she's down to a flat level of utilization here, essentially 100% with 0 hours remaining across that period. So we can very easily make modifications to the resource workload by selecting or deselecting projects within this view and having an understanding of the impact across teams or across individual resources where we have pinch points or significant utilization of those resources. So what about budgeting? This is all about resources, and of course that has an impact on budgets as well. So I'm going to switch to a budget prioritization view. And within this budget prioritization view, what I see is that we've built out a portfolio of projects. We have some plan total costs in the bottom, remembering that this incorporates resource estimates along with other financial information that we've gathered, such as software costs or travel and expenses or other associated general ledger type entries that you may be capturing within those plans. And we've established a target FY19 budget for ourselves of $4.4 million spread out over this entire fiscal year. Now we have some problem areas. As you'll see within this view, we have some areas that are red because we need for that particular month, we've estimated $676,000 for that particular project, or for the sum total of all those projects. At this point, we can do a couple of things. We can control that budget by selecting, deselecting some of these projects. We can drag and drop to reschedule as I add in the Gantt chart view if I wish to make modifications that way to move things in or out and adjust when we're trying to deliver on those particular projects. And we can also examine this budget and go back and say, well, instead of a flat budget like we outlaid for ourselves at the start of the year, let's do a bit of a revised budget. We're going to move some of those numbers around. We're actually not going to spend any money in January. We're going to limit how much we're spending through some of these months and give those pinch point months, June and July, an additional budget. You do this in a spreadsheet, but we see the immediate impact within this sort of view across rolling up all of those plan totals. And if I remember to, again, deselect that tiny homes project, we're going to see once again that we're getting even closer to a perfect budget, in that we're not over budget in any period, only slightly over in this month of April. So once again, we're able to very quickly see the impact across all of these projects in this new demand on resources and on budgets, and start to do some prioritization to make some determinations of which projects get the go-ahead, which ones don't, and to be able to track their progress within this portfolio analyzer type view. We also have the capability within these views to show our projects and our portfolios in a Kanban board type of view. So this particular view is showing us all of our different projects by business unit with a summary of the total budget estimates for those projects. We see information in these tiles that's showing us, for example, that this project is a high priority, green. This is a low priority, colored in red. And we see some additional information in that tile. Very easy to make adjustments to that. So I might just go in and say that I want to see priority shown in that tile as well. And there's that priority value matching that coloring that we have within these groupings. I can then also change my projects and group by state, for example. So I'm interested in seeing what's not started, what's in progress, and as things move around and as we make progress within those projects, they'll trigger over into the completed phase as well. So a Kanban type board for viewing your projects, again, grouping by state, by business unit, by other attributes that are important to you in order to visualize those projects. And then once again, we have additional ways of viewing this. So roadmaps by business unit help us to understand across accounting, HR, IT, etc., what's going on in the business. We see the roadmap over time in this visualization with those different departments' work grouped together. Keep in mind, this particular project might be something that's being delivered in Azure DevOps because it's a feature enhancement to an existing project that you're maintaining. Or this project might be a full-on Microsoft Project Online project that you're delivering on. Or if you're using our OneConnect tool to integrate between Azure and Project Online, manage it as a hybrid effort. Half of it's in Project Online, half it's over in Azure. We're letting those teams do the work the way they wish to do the work, delivering with the tools of their choice and visualizing it within this roadmap. We can also color within these by priority or group in a different fashion. So if I want to group by state, completed, in progress, or not started, I can color them by priority and show visual impact within this type of view of the priority of those projects, when they're being delivered, which ones are in progress or not started, etc. It's all of your work from all of your platforms visible within a rolled up roadmap within the OnePlan portfolio analyzer view. And if people don't have access to this interface and you want to ship this out or include this in part of a PowerPoint presentation, for example, we can hit the print button and save this image out for printing so that someone can view this within a PowerPoint presentation or within another type of interface at some other time. So here's my generated image from that particular roadmap view that I could drop into a PowerPoint or into an email and share that information with others within my organization. So with that, I'll return to our presentation. We'll do a quick summary and wrap up of what we've seen so far within this solution. So we looked at PPM and our OnePlan tool set, how you can do ideation and prioritization using some of the out-of-the-box capabilities with Project Online, or a more modern interface and a greatly eased and a more powerful type of approach using the OnePlan integration capabilities. Our team is available to help you along this journey of modernization of your PPM exercises or PPM efforts through our advisory services, through the solutions that we offer, such as OnePlan and our consulting services, and through operations as well. We have managed delivery operations capabilities, and we'll operate your PMO for you or outsource some of your staff and provide you assistance to get to a more efficient lifecycle and PPM environment. So a call to action here, next steps, please reach out to us via the contact us at wicresoft.com email. Our account executives would be more than pleased to provide you a free assessment and a roadmap to help you think through how you can get to a more effective and efficient PPM process within your organization. We'll deliver a personalized one-on-one demo for your organization. And if you need more information, visit our websites at either us.wicresoft.com or www.project-online.com. And don't forget to view our on-demand and upcoming webinars at the /webinars link off of the us.wicresoft.com website. With that, I'll wrap up the webinar. I'd like to thank you all for attending, and we will be emailing out to everyone who signed up for the webinar a copy of the slides and a link to this recording on our YouTube site. Thank you and have a wonderful day.